everybody, it's Louise from Wildflower Wool, and thanks for joining me right back here for a new episode of New Start Monday Knits. And that's right, every Monday I'm starting a new project, and this is the place to see what it is. This episode, I'm going to show you what my new start is, a finish, and also a technique to get that perfect transition when you're working ribbing in a stripe pattern, so you don't have any of those little purl bumps showing up on the right side of your work. So before I get to that tip, let's just jump right in with what I'm working on. I'm still working on mittens. I seem to be obsessed with mitts. And like I had said, I was trying to find the perfect mitten pattern, or at least perfect in my books. This is the pattern I'm working on right now, this mitten pattern from Briggs & Little. I picked this up when I was on vacation when I grabbed some yarn. My new project is Briggs & Little yarn. One is Tuffy and one is Heritage. The only difference is they're both a worsted weight, maybe bordering on an Aran weight, a little bit heavier worsted. One has a little bit of nylon, the other's 100% wool. This is my perfect yarn. This is a really rusticy, sheepy wool. So if you're used to something super, super soft like a merino, this is might take you a little bit of time to get used to. But it wears well, it washes up, it softens as you use it. So don't totally rule it out. Now, here's my mitten. Look at this. I played around a couple of times on this pattern. This is kind of my second attempt. I originally cast on with this gray. I wanted to use, this is like a periwinkle blue. Periwinkle blue, I guess, is more bluey than purpley. But I was going to add the gray to it. And this is why you need to swatch sometimes, you guys. I know in some of our comments and some of our other groups, we've been talking right now about swatching, the pros and cons of it, and this is a good example of why. Looking at these two colors, I thought, okay, they're kind of the same value, they're kind of, the same depth of color, but I was certain that the gray would show up. Not so much. If you look back on my Facebook account, I posted a picture of the first mitten cuff that I did. It was a 2x2 rib, and if you look really closely, you'll see that I did a 2-color cast on with the periwinkle and this is called Oxford. I'm calling this periwinkle but that's not the actual name of the yarn. I just can't remember, and I don't have my tag with me, but it is kind of a periwinkle blue. I did a 2-color long tail cast on, and it did not give me the contrast I was looking for. Definitely didn't. I wasn't really happy with it, and my original cast on was a 2x2 ribbing, and I did it for 3.5-4 inches because I really wanted a nice long cuff. I ended up pulling it out because the 2-color cast on was just, it wasn't enough of a contrast, and but then when you looked really closely at it, you could see the gray in there, but it just didn't really seem to work. I don't know, it was bugging me. So I just pulled it out and I started again. This time I actually followed the pattern to the letter and did a knit 2 purl 1 ribbing. It didn't say to put the stripe in it, but this was my second cuff, and I was kind of getting bored of just doing ribbing round and round in one color. So I added in a couple stripes of white just to jazz it up a little bit. I still did a long cuff. I still did about 3.5 inches, which I'd like, but you know what? I am not sold on a 2x1 rib. I think I'm finding it's not as stretchy, and when I put it on, it's not, I don't know, it's not just hugging my wrist as much as I think I would like it to. So I think I may go back to my 2x2 or even a 1x1 ribbing. Anyways, just personal preference, whatever you think you like. But this mitt does have an interesting thumb gusset construction, which I'm not sure, again, I'm not sure that it's my favorite. So on this quest to find Louise's favorite mitten pattern, I don't know if this pattern's really going to make the final cut. I'm kind of thinking not. I guess if I'm debating it, it means it's probably not, right? But look at this. So you can see where I did the purl stitches here in white. So you see a good contrast. So instead of having stitch markers to mark where your gusset increases are, they have purl stitches on either side, which I think is pretty ingenious. I kind of like that idea. You don't have to worry about if you have stitch markers in your bag. You don't have to worry about if they're falling off. You don't have to worry about losing them. So that I kind of like. They do, though, only one increase every other round, which I find interesting. So normally in every other mitten pattern I've always made, as soon as you start making these increases for your thumb gusset, you're increasing on either side of it. And then you'll skip a row and you'll increase on either side of it. Or like the garter stitch mitten I did, it increased, was it every third or fourth row? So you had a bunch of plain rows, then you did a double increase, then 3 or 4 rows and a double increase. This one has you increasing every other row, but one time it's on this side, you knit a plain row, and then you increase on this side. And so you're alternating this left side to a right side to a left side and a right side. And every once in a while, there's an extra plain row. So you do 2 plain rows in there. Who knew there were so many ways to increase for a thumb gusset? So I don't know. This one is definitely unique. I find it's making it a thinner increase. I don't know. I'm going to keep going with it. I have a few more rounds to do before I divide and put my thumb stitches on a holder. So I know, unique. I don't think I would write my patterns this way, but it is definitely something different for sure. And different is kind of fun. So I'm still on the quest for that perfect pattern that I'll probably eventually write up with the little bits, the best, what I find are the best kind of tips and tricks from all these different patterns that I've been trying. And I'll come up with my own Louisa's favorite mitten pattern. So we'll see. But anyways, that's what I'm working on. More mitts, Briggs & Little. I've gone up to, because this is an Aran weight yarn, I went up to a 4 millimeter, sorry, because it's color work. Because you know when you strand color work, it tightens it up. So I did go up, actually this is 3.75. I did the cuff in a 3.25 and I went to a 3.75 for my color work, which is not, it's tight. I maybe could have gone up to a 4. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes. It does fit though. It's snug, but it fits. Long slung cuff. No snow is going to get up the sleeve of my mitt, which is kind of the goal of wearing mitts, right? So now let me tell you about the stripes. So you may notice that if you're working stripes in a rib pattern, that very first round, I would have worked my rib pattern with my blue. Then when I went to switch for my white, normally on that white round, you're going to get little blips. You're going to get those little pearl bumps, like little blue and white pearl bumps going around that first row. So it doesn't look super, super neat. If you like it, you can call it a stitch pattern or a color work, you know, if you want to call it something like that. But most of the time, it just looks not messy, but just, so I'm just going to show you on the inside. So see here where I've switched colors, you can see a white pearl bump and a blue pearl bump. It's just not solid all the way around, right? The way you prevent that is when you switch colors. So I've worked blue. My first round of white, I just knit. Don't worry about doing the pearls. Don't worry about working in ribbing. You can't tell. If you look really closely there, even in those purl ridges, can you tell on that first row that I just knit all around? Solid row. Didn't worry about 3x1 ribbing. Just knit the white for the first round. Then the second round of white, then continue with whatever your rib pattern is. This case, it was 2 knits, 1 purl. You get back on track with your ribbing. And then I did the same thing when I switched to the blue. The first round of blue here was just a plain round of knit. Gets rid of those little purl bumps that you would normally see. And that's that little trick for working in stripes and stripes in ribbing. Work that first round of your new color all in knit, gets rid of those little purl bumps, and you get a perfectly blipless, is that what we want to call it? No purl bumps on the right side. They're all tucked away neatly on the inside where you're never going to see them. So I'm going to keep working on this. And the color work, I just picked a color work pattern that had a stitch repeat that worked with my number of stitches that I had cast on. It's fun. I think it's just called a little link pattern, and I've got one repeat done on it, and I like it. Now, honestly, thinking back, would I put stripes? Should I maybe have done stripes with this pattern? Maybe not, but I did, so I'm going to carry on. I'm going to finish it because a finished pair of mitts is going to be a lot warmer than an unfinished pair of mitts if I keep worrying about my pattern too much. So I think I can live with it. Stripes on this is fine. If I do it again, I think I'll omit the stripes, but that's all right. I'm just going to carry on, and I'm going to keep going. So I'm still on the quest for my pattern. Maybe next week I'll see what I can find for a different pattern, but I got to be getting close to deciding what I like. I'm starting to think of all the little things that I like. So we'll see. There may be a new mitten pattern coming soon. I had a finish this week, you guys. I know everybody's always concerned about my finishes. I finished a hat because, of course, what goes best with mitts? A new hat. Now this is just a plain light colored gray. I think this is Patton's Classic Wool, you know, one of my favorite yarns. And I just found this really fun, interesting twisted stitch pattern and just did the whole thing. Simple, easy, a little slower than regular rib, but not enough to deter me from doing it again. And then there's the top of the hat. I really like this. I've got this ready to cast on in a burgundy as well. I'm going to write this up as a new pattern that's going to be released in the fall, which is really only a few weeks away now. So stay tuned for this. If you think you want to give it a try, the pattern will be ready soon. And if you don't think you're ready to jump right in to do a hat, if you're a newer knitter, I'll also write up the pattern as a free dishcloth pattern. So it'll be a smaller pattern for you to try out, and you get the hang of the stitch. And then if you think you want to upgrade and move to a bigger project doing the hat, that'll be available for you too. So I'm already thinking ahead to next week. What is going to be my new start? And I have got 2 options here that I am debating about already. I was on vacation last week, and look what I found. I am in love with this ball of Noro. Look at their new branding. There's no ball band all the way around, just this tag, which talks a lot about the natural color, the natural process, the natural fiber, very much about natural. And look at this, you guys. This is a piece of fabric with Japanese writing on it. I feel like I should take a picture of this and put it into Google, into the Translate, Google Translate, and see what this actually says. But anyways, I love this. Love, 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 love the colors of this. I have a pattern already. One of my older patterns that is not on Ravelry may get reknit up using this yarn. So this is an option from next week's new start. Or one of the viewers of the Fiber Friends podcast, every year she sends us little Christmas cards. And this was last year's little Christmas card with this hat on it. And I remember when I took this out of the envelope, I thought, this would make a cute hat pattern. Would it not? Look at those little, where do we go? Snowflakes on there with some stripe, with a little detail in the stripe and a cute pom-pom on top. And you all know I love pom-poms. So I remember opening it and saying, this would make a great hat pattern. And then I set it aside, and I came across it when I was doing a little bit of tidying up in here. So what do you think my new start should be for next week? Should I work on a pattern using my Nora, or should I work on writing up a pattern for this hat? It's kind of a toss-up. I don't know. If you have a preference, leave me a comment down below, and we'll see. Come back and join me next week to see which one actually, you know what, they both might actually make it on the needles. But if you have a preference, let me know. And if there's an overwhelming shift one way or the other, preference of what people would like, that's the one I'll cast on. So leave me a message in the next day or two. And until then, I hope you cast on. If you started something new, use the hashtag NewStartMondayKnits on Instagram so I can follow along with your progress as well. And thanks for joining me.